Hello, friends out there on the internet and the world. If you are on a similar parallel to our particular position on the globe, then as you're aware, the nights are drawing in, the shadows are getting longer, and here we are telling tales of spookiness and dark fantasy for you in your eyes, in your brain. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm the GM of Symbaroum tonight. Joining me as stream manager behind the scenes is John. Hello, John. Why don't you wave hello? You can say
Very
it as well.
slowly, because my screen is... Well, you can see what my camera's like.
Yeah, your camera is basically a potato with a bit of glass mounted on the front. So
yeah,
but that's fine. You know, we all have our challenges. So without any further ado, which means John can get out. Let's bring on our players, right? We're starting a new kind of story arc this week, so who knows what is in store for them. But what we do know is our regular crew are back and ready for more awful fantasy horror. Awful in terms of what will happen to them, not awful in terms of quality. Why don't we bring on Sam first? Let's bring on Sam, aka Ascarai, our resident changeling bowman and all-round mysterious man.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi. How are you feeling after surviving the siege last week? And
I guess pretty good. I feel it was a more eventful trip out of this all than I think I'd anticipated, but
things just didn't stop happening.
No, they really didn't. But I guess I didn't die, and hopefully I'm getting paid. So,
hey, any day where you don't die is a day you don't die.
True.
That's what I always say.
Very true. Very hard to argue with that, really.
And but while you were under siege at the Inn Jackad's Heart, Ascarai did the thing where he finally, I mean, I say finally, it's only about 3 or 4 sessions in, but he unmasked himself, right? In front of the entire party. We're now aware he's a changeling and, you know, all that good stuff. And in honor of that, we have some revised character art for Ascarai, which I'm sure John will flash up any moment now. Look at that.
It's so good.
From John, who does all our art that we've had so far, and does a fantastic job of it as well. So yeah, there's Ascarai in all his spooky glory. It's lovely.
Like it a lot. You just need to draw Ascarai as one of every race now, John. Just
for the shape-shifting purposes. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Get on that, John. Have those for next week. So next we'll bring on. How about we bring on Elle, aka Ephanea, our barbarian warrior woman who chopped down the boss of the last story in one blow.
That is me.
Single fist blow. Those are guns. Ephanea didn't use a gun though. Ephanea used a big axe.
She did.
I'd say a moment that Ephanea is probably pretty happy with.
She is. I mean, she's shocked, but she'll definitely be bragging about it for a long time. I mean, even more so if Nightblade didn't immediately come back to life.
Who'd have thought?
Definitely planned.
But still, pretty good.
Pretty badass.
Pretty badass. I may be wrong, but I think Ephanea's portrait has been slightly tweaked by John as well. But John was talking about it, but I don't know if John actually did it. Something about a nose. So I don't know if that's happened.
That'd just be a new one of
John, jump on and talk about Ephanea's nose.
Hello. So, like, on the old portrait, which I've now deleted from this folder, so I can't show you for comparison, and I won't anyway. But like the bit where like her nose met her eye socket was like slightly too big, and it looked like her nose went like that or something. It was weird, and I've just fixed it a little bit.
It's the kind of thing where you can tell it's better, but you don't know how.
Yep.
I thought the tweet was just going to be Fria holding Nightblade's head up.
The tweak is now
that's a
Fria
future
has
idea.
no nose.
Yeah, I've given her a nose. Have you guys not noticed? How
Never
she was
know.
basically Voldemort in
We
all
never-
the previous episodes.
We never nose-tissed.
I'm leaving in disgust.
Look, you can have as much disgust as you want, but I set up the got no nose joke and no one leapt on it. So as far as I'm concerned, you're all dead to me. Let's bring on Mike. Let's have Mike, aka Anton, aka Father Anton of the Church of Prios, aka Mr. Heels.
Mr. Occasional Heals.
Mr. Occasional.
I've got better with the aid of a plot device.
With the aid of an artificial device that does it automatically for you. Yeah, absolutely. No one could argue that point.
You can't take that away from me.
No, you can't. So, how is Anton feeling after his escapades outside of the walls of Thistlehold?
Pretty relieved. It was a bit hairy there for a while, and I imagine that while Thistlehold isn't exactly a home from home, he'll be glad to get back there with a semblance of normality, and just away from all the violence, all the horrible violence.
Yeah, there's no violence in Thistlehold.
No.
It's a really nice place.
Well, okay, away from the abominations then.
Moving forward, no, Thistlehold. This story arc is now mainly going to be about property speculation and investment stuff like that. So no abominations, no nothing. I'd just like to say on the little glimpse of Elle's screen that there was there, I know now that Elle was just drinking something normal, because there was something come out at the top of it. I thought Elle was drinking a cocktail, just like, hey, dark fancy and cocktail time. Also, Elle is on mute, so her sassy rejoinder is lost to history.
There was no sassy rejoinder, only the information that it was in fact a milkshake.
That's fair. And
Nice.
People who know me would know I would much prefer a milkshake to a cocktail. So nothing but love there. So let's bring on Chris, our final player. Usually he's randomly on first because his name pops into my head. So this time I intentionally put him on last because he needs to learn his place. So Chris plays Theo, our PTSD-ridden, sometimes city guard and former military man, who's adopted, it's fair to say, a somewhat cynical view of these proceedings on life in general. How glad was Theo to see the walls of Thistlehold hoving into view?
Theo was expecting to die toward the end of that. It had probably been the closest he'd been in a while to a situation of mortal peril. So returning back to Thistlehold would probably have began to sort of reset him back to his... just got him back to his nominal dead on the inside state that we all know and love.
Good, great. The heart has slowly stilled. The blood has slightly stopped. Sorry, I'm warming myself up for Vampire Monday. So there he is. There's Theo. What a lovely man. Now, before we kick off in earnest, we have some wonderful administration tasks to take care of, folks. Because there's some kind of leftovers from the story last time, and there's some fun happenings. So let's go through them. First off, let's talk about XP. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that so far you've all netted an amazing haul of 14 experience points, which is enough.
Rich in experience.
Which is enough to buy you one level of something at novice. So I know that we've already had a purchase being made in that last week. Steo picked up the first level of Medicus for some backup healing for the party. Don't know why we need that. And just the endless needling of Mike, which is my favorite national album, as it happens. XP spending beyond what Chris has done. Sam, I believe you have bought yourself something. Please tell the lovely folks what that is.
I did. I bought myself Faint at Novice. It basically lets me, with my
Collapse.
dagger, collapse or attack people with my dagger using discreet, and gives me some advantage on doing that. Just so I'm a little bit less useless in melee fighting if I have to be.
Yeah, because accurate is your crappy stat, right? So
yeah, I don't have good accurate, and also a dagger does like terrible damage as it should. But
yeah. I mean, if you stab someone with a dagger in real life, then
doesn't do anything.
They'll just keep going.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you say, you replace accurate with discreet for like short weapons, and you also, I think you said, you basically every attack you make has advantage, right?
Yeah.
That is incredible. Like for 10 XP, that's
it's
really
a nice
strong.
one.
Does advantage work the same in Symbaroum as it does in?
No, advantage is you may have rolled it before when you've like struck from behind or something. You get is it a +2 to your roll?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also get an extra D4 to the damage.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
It's like if you're flanking someone or you're like attacking them from above or something like that. That's Ascarai. Mike was pondering some stuff, but I don't know if he's ended up holding it in reserve for tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm probably like leaning towards saving up and like bumping up one of my current abilities to Adept.
That's fair enough. Not too far off that. Only 6 points more needed. So that's 2, 3, at the most 4 sessions. You would imagine. 2, 3. Yes, at the most 3 sessions. I'll start again. There's a random picture of Steo for us. That's good. Thanks, John.
Steo to distract from your.
I was rambling, so it was a good distraction. Elle, I believe you're also saving up your XP at the moment, right?
Yes, although in the interests of being completely honest, it is more because I was picking up a cat today from 70 miles away that I forgot to look.
Your arms must be really long.
Seen the hand.
I live for the two on the bottom covering their face in horror.
That's because they can see either one of my hands at their window.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't their hands. That was your hands. Although somehow you also had 4 of them.
A monstrosity. I'm the next Symbaroum boss. Four hands Elle, that's what they call me.
Well, spoilers, folks. It's just what you're going to have to deal with. Great. Okay, so the next thing on our list of administration, we left the story last week quite abruptly, but by kind of design, it just felt like a good place to leave off. But there's the little matter of everything that was left on the floor, which is obviously a fundamental question for anyone who's played a fantasy role-playing game before. So there's a number of things, and it's fine if everyone goes, we were just glad to get away with our lives and got away as quickly as possible. But there are loads of dead goblins. There was a dead witch with a big weird cauldron. There was a dead, re-dead monstrosity person who was carrying what looked like a big old corrupted sword. At any point, will any of the characters have browsed this merchandise or reclaimed some of it, or just shaken down some of the corpses for gold? What do we think?
I would definitely have checked on Nightblade's corpse almost immediately, because even if there's nothing on her person that's like of value, I want something as like a keepsake that I can put on a necklace.
Sure.
That's like I found her in like one go once, and then she came back to life. But but also obviously my main shtick is I want to save money. I want to gather money and send it back to my family. So I will have checked as many corpses. Sure. I mean, like I'll share spoils evenly, but I'm definitely going to be looting as much as I can.
Sure. How about anyone else? Will anyone else have investigated anything else?
I think I would have taken a look at the witch's corpse. Not really for items, but more to get some kind of... just to see what the hell this poison arrow actually did to him. Because I just shot him from far away and saw him basically like cough up some weird green stuff, and then all the goblins died.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I'd go and have a look to see what had happened to him. Other than that, I probably would have taken every arrow I could find, or up to a reasonable amount. But
sure,
yeah,
no problem. Anything from Chris and Mike?
Yeah, I'm going to talk because I think Chris is on mute.
Sure.
I would have definitely gone and checked out the witch as well, just because I kind of want to get an in with Balmello if I ever run into him again, and like sort of, talking to him about witches and killing witches seems like a relevant thing to know about. So yeah, definitely would have investigated him and maybe picked up his weapon and taken that back if there was such a thing.
Yeah. Talk about killing witches to the witch hunter. That seems like a valid strategy. Yeah. So, Chris, what about Steo? What will he have done?
He'll be in tidy up mode. He'll be helping Cauldra set the house to rights and probably kind of shaking down the goblins and kind of the goblin corpses and trying to kind of give them as best a burial, or at least a mass graving as can be achieved in a short time.
That's fair enough. Right. So everyone. So just to make it clear, because Elle said stuff about like splitting gold. Will anyone not split any money they find? It's fine to say yes if you feel like it's in character.
I think I kind of want to make sure if we're. I'll be making the point that we should be giving some to the inn as well for the chaos that's ensued. So. Sure. I'll be taking Caldra's lead on what to do with the money I find tidying up the goblins.
Okay. Cauldra, for her part, seems quite insistent that you should, not you, Steo, you as a group should take any money you find for as thanks. But of course, she's given that a couple of buildings are slightly fire damaged and. Her gate's been knocked down. You're pretty sure if you insisted on giving her some, then she wouldn't say no. So it's yeah.
Well, let's see how big the pot is, and then
sure. Okay. Well, let's deal with the boring money first, shall we? So after everything is totted together, first of all, let's see what Elle finds on Nightblade's body. So Elle, if you can roll me a D10, please.
I can indeed. So, well, I say that I don't actually have my dice on me, so I'm rolling a dice online right now. D10. I rolled a 9.
Okay, then that's 9 Thala.
Nice.
Which is the highest denomination, which is pretty good. Let's see what money Ascarai found on the witch. Give me a D10 roll, please, Sam.
Okay.
And someone be writing this stuff down.
I got an 8.
That's 8 shillings. And then we have the money from all the goblins. I'm trying to calculate in my head how many goblins died. And I think let's make an estimate here. I think 4 goblins died on the ladder. I think 6 goblins died from the poison. So that's 10. I think another 2 goblins died to Ascarai and Anton when they came running, so that's 12. And I think 2 goblins died at the gate because Nightblade died before much further butchery could be done. Oh, and an extra one died on the ladder, I think. So let's call that. I've lost count now already. 13. 13. Yeah, yes. I did. John's pointed out I did write down, but I can't find it. So let's just say 13. How? Is there any very, very quick way to roll 13 D10?
How many D10?
13.
I got it.
Chris has got it.
Yeah, I mean, it will be a
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, Chris can do it.
13 D10.
Uh-huh.
Do you want the individual numbers or the total?
Just the total's fine.
The total is 69.
Nice. That is strangely serendipitous this week because we reached 69 YouTube subscribers and 69
Nice.
Twitch followers on the same day.
That is the number of
Fate is telling us something secret and sexy. Yeah, so 69. You might as well note that down as an extra 6 shillings and 9 Ortex for your purposes, and that can be split. Like I don't know if you want to split that 5 ways with a 5th going to Cauldra or what have you. It's entirely up to you guys how that works. But if everyone is pitching stuff together, then I would suggest that someone who feels like it should make the decision. And also splitting a number like that.
Yeah, I'll be trying to make sure that the farm owners or the bar owners get their bit of the cake as well. So I'll try and metaphysically elbow my way into making the count.
Sure.
I'm
John,
happy to give some to the Calder and them.
John, that's our maths head. Could you speculatively put out there in the chat what that divided by 5 is, please? Okay. This is all fascinating stuff for the viewers, I'm sure. So, in terms of other things, so Elle, you said you examined the body of Nightblade.
Yes.
Absolutely everything that was on Nightblade can be summarized as follows. She had a kind of drug pouch with a couple of different kinds of things in it. One of them looks to be a kind of snuff, and another one a kind of very small blue, like boiled sweets. They look like quite clear little sweets, maybe, but they are in a drug pouch, so they're probably some kind of drug. She also had, obviously, a large 2-handed black sword, and that is it. And the chainmail she was wearing, but no personal items, no keepsakes, no personal objects of any kind beyond those.
Can I take her large 2-handed sword?
Oh yes, yeah,
Because,
you can.
Like, anyway, stop having a. But yeah, I figured that like FNA would probably want it like to attack with for one thing, but also because she vanquished her,
Sure.
so that might be a nice.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
In that case, feel free on your under equipment, you can list the sword Black Gift.
Okie dokie. I shall do
and
that.
let me know when you start carrying it with you regularly and using it regularly.
Oh God. Oh no. I chuck it away. No, I don't.
A lot of items, almost every kind of magical item in this game comes with a cost. So it's not gonna like turn you into an abomination immediately.
Suddenly a voice booms from the heavens. Maybe don't take that.
Yeah. So that's Nightblade dealt with. Ascarine and Tom, you said you wanted to go check out Ashfaru's body. First, on your point, Sam, with how he actually died from the arrow, is most of his throat seems to have been rotted away. And there's still a kind of bubbling green residue over it. Also, his body seems to have... It's going very bad very fast. Way worse than kind of, the goblins or other dead bodies you've seen. He already smells really unpleasant, so rooting around him is definitely... I mean, I hope it wasn't an enjoyable experience anyway, but especially unenjoyable. As far as other things he has on him, he also has a drug pouch, a very, very large one, that has what looks to be a kind of tobacco-y chew version of the wild chew, which is what he was brewing up, the red mixture. And there's a kind of red, almost like a red tobacco chew of that, quite a lot of it. there is the same snuff and the same small blue sweets as on Ephenea. There is a dose of something in an unmarked bottle, and there is the cauldron, obviously, which once you're closer to it in daylight, you can see has odd kind of shapes and symbols carved all over it. He also had the weaponry he had, because I know Mike mentioned it, was a spear. Oh, and he also, tucked into one pocket, had what seems to be recipes for the 3 drugs he has on him.
Okay. I'd probably pocket those. Oh, sorry, Sam.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm happy for the Antum to take basically all of that. Do I recognize anything off the cauldron? Just recognize the markings.
Give me a you don't have alchemy, do you? Or
Nope.
like witchcraft or anything like that. In that case, give me a cunning roll at -5.
Okay. I do not make it.
You know nothing of this.
Okay. I would ask Antum as well if you recognize any of it, since it looks weird.
Do you want me to make that roll as well?
Would you have studied much witchy stuff down in the south?
Probably not.
Then you know what? Nah. let's skip on you. I just don't feel you would know it, right? So
Yeah,
let's skip on you making the roll. But that's fine. Do you do anything? Obviously, I mean, I'm assuming you're just kind of leaving the body there for now. Do you do anything with the cauldron? Do you carry it back to Jackad's heart, or do you just kind of leave it there in the field?
Probably carry it back. Just the stuff in it is probably still not good.
Oh yeah, it definitely needs emptying out.
So
do you want to do that before you carry it back? In fact,
yeah. Okay.
Sure. You empty it out over kind of the long grass of the field, and said long grass starts kind of withering slightly as it sinks into the soil. And you kind of take some care, presumably, to not get it all over your hands, and cart it back to Jackad's heart. As you come in through the gates, Calder kind of goes, "Is that from the witch?"
Yep.
I'm guessing I want to wash that out before I use it.
Yeah. It was not full of anything nice. It just killed a patch of grass outside.
All right then. She kind of starts hauling it over towards Mangold and shouts for the ogre to bring some buckets. Okay, so that's everything with the witch dealt with. And yeah, with the goblins, more doses of wild chew. And the money is pretty much all they have on them. Yeah.
I would like to see if I can salvage the chainmail from Scary Lady. If there's anything worth salvaging,
I would say no. The impact that Mangold made of her body on the kind of palisade wall just tore it to pieces. Basically, there are shreds of chainmail there that you could maybe pick up and use to patch up crow armor or something like that. But like, you're just not sure how much of a saving it would be beyond just going and buying some other chainmail that isn't covered with corrupted gore.
Yeah. Okay. Let's skip that then.
Sure.
Can I ask a slightly gross question? Could I rip out one of her teeth, please?
Yes.
Yeah,
because the head came off cleanly. So
I'm aware that she's corrupted in some way. Would I know that it would it do any damage? I
mean, it is always basically corruption can do anything. So It's entirely up to you. A slightly less gross. If you want to, a lock of her hair perhaps would be certainly less gross to acquire.
I will cut off some of her hair.
Sure. Yeah.
Enough to put it into like a
a little knot, and yeah. Sounds good. Sounds certainly sounds less gross.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So there we go. That's the kind of aftermath of what happened last time.
Did I find any arrows?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Just give yourself a D10 roll and take that many arrows.
Okay.
So one more thing before we start in earnest. Oh my God, it's taken so long already. As regular viewers know, every other week we talk about the kind of advanced rules modules that are optional from the core rulebook, and we talk about whether to include any of them going forward or not. And this week we're covering one, and it is critical damage. So it's fairly simple to sum up. Essentially, how critical damage works is if you or an enemy suffers damage that surpasses the pain threshold, as well as the existing penalties, i.e. suffer either a free attack or get knocked prone. You also basically, and I'll explain this in terms of D&D first and then give clarity. You essentially, get disadvantage on every roll until you recover toughness. So what that means for people unfamiliar with the likes of D&D is every roll you make twice and take quite.
Sorry.
Every roll you make, you roll twice and take the lower amount. So if you go over your pain threshold, you're pretty badly damaged until you heal. How it works for enemies is that if you're defending against an enemy who's taken a critical hit, you do the reverse. Every roll you make, you roll twice and take the higher result. I just realized higher and lower I've completely inverted. You know what I mean? If you've taken critical damage, you take the worst result. And if an enemy has taken critical damage, you take the best result when trying to affect them. Yeah. So, any initial thoughts on that? What we'll do is we'll have a little discussion of it here. We'll throw it into chat for the rest of the session. And then at the end of the session, we'll decide what is happening with it.
Sorry, the cat is here. And
that is absolutely fine. Put the cat on stream. Put the cat on stream immediately.
Hey.
No.
So what? Yes, sorry. While that discussion was going on, the cat that was up until about an hour and a half ago was hidden under the sofa because it's her first day here. Leapt from our cupboard onto my partner's shoulders, climbed across the shoulders, down their arm, and back onto the bed. So that is what that distraction was.
Can I just say, by the power of internet and cats, literally the moment you showed the cat, like an extra 3 people bounced onto the stream. So it's some kind of algorithm.
There we go.
As far as
critical stuff goes, I am always happy to add it because I like the kind of high risk, high reward. To me, it just makes things more fun. Sure. Kind of knowing that you could either be like, yeah, I get to get advantage on this, or oh no, no.
We're playing in hardcore mode, right? That's what we're doing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else with any opinions on it?
Counterpoint. I mean, I would love something that ups the death risk, but really what this is doing is just adding more dice rolls. And I'm not 100% sold on it, so I'd be interested to see what chat want to come up with.
Sam, Mike, any hot takes?
My instant reaction is I feel like I'm going to regret having such a low pain threshold.
I feel like that's most people's reactions to a low pain threshold, but
True.
It's fine.
I have a low pain threshold and a chronic inability to roll well, so I'm not totally on board.
That's fair. And these are always things we can revisit later anyway, and say, oh well, maybe that's a good idea after all, or whatever. But yeah, people in chat have a discussion about whether you think it's a good idea to have that critical damage or not, and we'll talk about it at the end and decide then whether or not to implement it. So, okay, good lord, we're finally there. 40 minutes in, and we're at the actual beginning of the session.
That's very exciting.
Very exciting. So, after the events at Jackass Heart, you,
Sorry.
I'm assuming that's Cat.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe we should just shut the door while I'm streaming. Sorry, viewers.
fine. After the events of Jackass Heart, you all made your way back to Thistlehold. It's now 2 weeks later. You are you have convalesced the appropriate amount. Some of you definitely more than others. Being as you heal 1 point of toughness every day, I don't think anyone had more than 14 points of toughness missing, right? So it's all fine. So everyone's all healed up. Is there any kind of, before we get fully fledged and I start throwing scenes at people, is there anything that anyone will have really wanted to do in the interim? I will add an asterisk to that and say that one of the opening scenes will cover your payment. So you don't need to be on at me about that.
Any way I could have possibly visited home in that 2 weeks? I don't know what the distance is.
Well, we haven't fully decided exactly where your homestead is.
Yeah.
But it's definitely in the. Are they called the Odevo? Your people?
Yes.
Yeah, which I believe they live around Carvosti, right? Like to the north of Thistlehold.
Mm-hmm.
I think that technically speaking, you could have found the time to do it, but would you have done it when you've been probably convalescing for at least a week?
No, you are correct.
Fair enough. Just exactly the words I love to hear. So no, that's fair enough though. But maybe we'll put it on the thing for something for you to do soon. Anything else from anyone else?
Nothing major, but I would buy 1 thaler's worth of arrows. That's
absolutely fine, and anyone else can make any purchases they want as well. Ascarai, though, before you got booted off onto this expedition, you had been approached by Ephanair and Steo on behalf of the guild, I suppose, sometimes called the Fortune Hunters Guild of Thistlehold, but officially called, let me just find the exact name 1 second, Mother Mahira's Agency, who basically had told you, you're a freelancer doing all this guide and adventuring work and all the likes. We don't like that, so we're going to blacklist anyone who works with you. Therefore, no one will work with you. Therefore, sounds like you better sign up for the agency. Has Ascarai had any further thoughts on that? And if he has he taken any action about them?
He does not want to join the agency, kind of unsurprisingly, given the tactics they're using to try and get him to join. His thoughts right now are that he will say to them, basically, that he'll work with them if they, offer him an amount of money that they would offer, like their normal members. But he doesn't want to be an actual member of this agency.
Will you have already approached them with this notion?
It's been 2 weeks, so
if you want, we can open with a scene of you talking to one of their representatives. Would that be?
Yeah,
that sound good. Okay. Anton, any happenings over the last couple of weeks you want Anton to have taken care of?
I mean, yeah, I think I definitely would have wanted to have a catch up with Keller and maybe other members of the Church of Prios, and yeah, just kind of let him know where we've been, because I left in a rush. I didn't even have an opportunity really to kind of get a message to him about what was going on. And yeah, I've been gone for a few days, so yeah, would have kind of had a chat with him if he's been around, and talked to him about all of that. And yeah, probably just kind of like rested, recuperated, prayed, and tried to probably keep my distance from the rest of the party. But they will know where I am, and I've told them where I will be, and so they can contact me if they need to contact me.
Sure. Steo, anything in particular?
Yeah, I'll probably quickly go back on more than my usual amount of work, of semi-contract, semi-regular work with the guards, probably spending more time on the North Gate than usual, taking an interest in the comings and goings to see if there's any more trails to follow for the Cursed Crown. I'll also, in my downtime, be trying to spend time with Ascarai and Ephronea, just as drinking buddies.
Burn on Tom.
Well, it's kind of... Yeah, and Tom.
Yeah, you probably don't want to
preach fine. While you're going we'll work with him again, but I'm not taking a priest drinking.
Sure. I mean, a certain kind of priest. So, okay. In terms of Keller's response to you, Anton, by the way, Keller had a kind of vaguely polite meeting with you where he just kind of basically nodded and smiled at everything you told him about the events and said, "Oh, that's excellent. It sounds like you've acquitted yourself very well." And then basically made excuses and went on his way. You definitely get the feeling that not only has he kind of sidelined you from the purpose with which you were both sent here, but it almost feels like he's literally supplanted your... Not that you had... He was slightly superior to you anyway, but like he seems to have essentially almost not kicked you out of the local church, but like there doesn't seem to be any place for you there or anything to do, and he's kind of just occupied the chamber that was there for you, and like just... That's kind of it, and he doesn't seem generally interested in you.
What a harsh experience for Anton this is. He doesn't get to go to the pub. He's
rejected by everyone.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
So, which for people obviously watching from the very start in the prologue, Keller is a much beloved NPC by this point. So yeah, let's start with you know what? Let's start with a scene. We'll start with a scene in The Witch Unfamiliar. A inn which is familiar to you all now. The Barbarian Inn with like open wood and plants bedded into the walls, and stuffed animals and trophies on the walls and the like, that where you first met the twins Bellon and Ludo, leading towards the events that have brought you here. And at slightly separate tables, because I'm going to assume, correct me if I'm wrong, that Anton and Ascarai are still staying at the Witch Unfamiliar, being Anton has nowhere else to go. And the landlord seems perfectly happy to not charge either of you rent for your rooms at the moment because of how you resolved the issue upstairs with the shape-shifting elf and all the horrible hyena creatures. So if just you're staying there if it's rent-free?
Definitely.
Yep.
Okay, then. In that case, shall we say that would it be a safe assumption that if you sat down for lunch at the inn that you'd lunch together?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, what we'll have is it's actually a scene where you're not at a table together, but you did sit down for lunch together, and then Urfons, the goblin from the agency, who is kind of the mentor of Ephenea and Steo, came into the Witch and Familiar and kind of indicated that he'd like a private chat with Ascarai. So at the moment, here's the scene. Ascarai and Urfons are over on a separate table. Antom is off on another doing priestly things. Making notes or praying or things priests do.
Bad rolls.
Yeah. So yeah, let's. So Antom, I would say you are close enough that you can basically hear this conversation. So we'll play it out. Urfons has come in. He sat down with Ascarai. He's indicated to the innkeeper, whose name I've forgotten, but it's fine. That he wants a drink and it's brought to him, and he leans over the table towards Ascarai and says, I have on good authority from Steo and Ephenea that you are not stupid.
Well, good to hear they have such a positive opinion of me.
I mean, you seem to be challenging this, though.
Well, I've seen plenty of stupid people join your guild over the years.
Oh, it's full of stupid people. But here's the thing. Why on earth would we give you the privileges of the agency without you signing up? Why would we work with you and pay you without you signing up?
Because I'll help keep your members alive.
Our members keep our members alive.
Some of them don't do such a great job. Perhaps I can do better than them.
Perhaps you can. Maybe you better sign up then.
Maybe I won't. There are still people here who don't want to work with the agency. And if not, I can go somewhere else. There are priests in Karvosti who need guides to the Sun Temple.
Erfons shrugs and says, and you're welcome to do that. I'm not here to browbeat you or to intimidate you into joining. I'm saying if you want to stay in Thistlehold, look, we have to work like this. There's a lot of people in the agency. That means we need a lot of money. It's called a monopoly, Ascarai, and you're not going to get around it in Thistlehold. If you want to go off on your own, you're welcome to it. If you want to try and pick up scraps that we leave behind, and let me tell you, they will be scraps, because anyone who won't work with us is a fool or a psychopath. Do you want to work with those people? I'm guessing no.
Half the people in your agency are fools and psychopaths. I'm going to end up working with them no matter what.
Well then, it sounds like you've made your decision. He stands up and kind of finishes his drink. Of course, him standing up leaves him like at your level. He shrugs and says, look, maybe you'll change your mind. Maybe you won't. But unless you join with us, we're going to carry on blacklisting anyone you work with. And people who work for the agency, well, they won't work with you either.
The only condition I would consider joining under is if you could guarantee me I would work almost exclusively with Steo and Ephenea.
And then you'd sign.
I'd be much more likely to. I probably would.
That can probably be arranged. Literally, the only restrictions on you within the agency is that things fall over in my room. The agency, all the work goes through our books. We take a quarter cut, plus any deposits they give to us in advance, but that's money that wouldn't have got to you anyway. And you don't work with people we tell you not to work with. That's it. I can see what I can do about Efnair and Steo. If I go back and talk to the mother about that and get you three just working as a team together, will you sign?
Okay.
Look, they say you're great with a bow.
I will work
We
with
could
them.
use archers.
I'll
All
sign
right.
on that condition.
All right. Wonderful. And we could find common ground. I will be back in the next couple of days with the papers for you to sign. Oh, and you know the license that you need to go into Davakar? That you have to pay through the nose for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll take care of that for you. Just another little perk.
Sounds great.
He throws a couple of coins on the table and indicates to the innkeeper and says, "Get the changeling whatever he wants." And he kind of spins around and clocks Anton. Anton, who's at a table with someone else. And says, "Oh, and the priest." And carries on walking out. Ascarai, at this point, you notice that Anton is at the table with someone else. Anton, let's rewind just a few minutes. The goblin and Ascarai have been talking. You've basically heard everything they've said. It's not in raised tones, but it's not particularly hush hush either. I mean, you'd guess that it's slightly perhaps advantageous for Earthons to be spreading. This is the situation, and it's if you overhear it, then maybe other people will say, "Have you heard the agency blacklists people who don't," etc. Getting the word out almost does their job for them. But while this is happening, you see a man kind of coming down the stairs from the upstairs area where all the rooms are that people stay in. He's got a kind of slightly vague expression on his face, not in the same way that the witch and the goblins did at Jack Heart, but more of a kind of like he has definitely the air of a slightly preoccupied scholar about him. He's wearing long brown robes and has kind of pinched, worried face, maybe in his middle years, with a scattering of brown hair around his head, around a large bald spot, and a small pair of quite expensive sort of, like old school glasses that like just clip onto your nose. And he kind of peers around and goes and wanders over to the innkeeper, who exchanges a few words with him, and then the innkeeper kind of leans around, points at Ascarai and points at you. He says something to the innkeeper, turns around and kind of looks over at the table where the contract negotiation is taking place, and kind of looks away from it hurriedly and sort of strides over to the table where you are, and says, Father of Prios, may I take a seat?"
Please do.
Obviously, that's more metaphorical because there are no chairs in the Witch and Familiar, and he kind of, with a slight grunt, kind of sinks to the ground and crosses his legs and kind of draws out a piece of paper and a piece of chalk and says, "Yes, my name is Vernum, Master Vernum, formerly of the Ordo Magica. I was wondering if you could share with me perhaps some details about the events of a couple of weeks past here. The two brothers, I believe, were here, attacked by an elf."
So Vernum, you heard about that?
Yes,
travels fast in Thistlehold.
It does. I also, I have expended some energy in procuring information sources. Yes, and they tell me all kinds of things that happen. Now, I believe you and your companions were involved in a physical altercation with this elf.
Yes, that was true. That much is true. Your sources are very reliable.
And then you were commissioned by the city guard to go after the brothers who had gone missing after this altercation.
this is true as well. Are you acting on behalf of yourself in this investigation, or
Entirely on behalf of myself, yes.
okay?
If you do not wish to talk to me, I would understand that, but I assure you that this would be of great help both to me and to Thistlehold.
I'm happy to talk.
Excellent, thank you. So these brothers, you returned a couple of days later after traveling to the south, and they were not with you.
It was a pretty sorry affair. The brothers did not have a pleasant end, shall we say?
I see. Was this end in conflict with yourself?
Well, it was. No, they were afflicted, shall we say, and found themselves in some difficulty.
Afflicted. At this point, Ascarai, Urfons has left. You can stay where you are, and you can hear this conversation as well, or you can come join the conversation.
I'll head over. Seems like it's
as you do so. He Vernum kind of shuffles over to one side and says, Ascarai, am I pronouncing that correctly?
That's right.
Wonderful. So yes, afflicted.
Well, we were attacked by Ascarai. How would you describe what happened down by that river?
Well, we were attacked by, the two brothers were attacked by a pair of elves, and during the attack, one of them just turned into an abomination, more or less, right in front of us.
An abomination?
That's right.
I don't suppose you could describe this abomination.
It was huge, incredibly ugly, had horrible claws, tore through one of our companions.
Was there anything unusual about its head?
I believe you're talking about a kind of crown.
Give me a vigilant roll.
I make it.
Same.
He definitely did not like you saying the word crown. Not as in he has some aversion to the word crown. Like that was not news he wanted to hear. He takes a slight breath and says, I see. A crown. You're quite sure it resembled a crown.
We know that. We know what happened with the crown. What do you know about the crown?
The crown?
We believe that these two brothers found a crown in Davakar, touched the crown, wore the crown, became afflicted by the crown.
Well, it seems you are further ahead in this than I had thought. Yes. Well, I'm in a sense looking for the crown, or more accurately, looking for those who have stolen it, recovered it.
Have you got any leads on where they might be? Have you spoken to any of them?
I would not want to give any information I am not certain of. And while you both of you gentlemen seem perfectly respectable. You haven't been in contact with the Crown, have you?
No.
Good. Well, thank you for the information you've given me, innkeeper. Another couple of drinks for these gentlemen, and yes, if there's anything else you can think of, you can ask almost anyone here regarding my academy. He stands up and kind of tucks the paper in the chalk away. Probably not Mike, haven't been here that long, but Sam, could you give me a cunning roll, please, at +2?
Okay. I make it.
You thought you'd heard the name Vernon before. Master Vernon's Academy is a sort of, not a school so much as a place for tutelage on various things, run by a kind of outsider of the Ordo Magica. You don't know much details about it, but it's certainly a known place within Thistlehold, and you think you could find your way there without any particular problems.
Okay.
He kind of nods to you with a quite fragile smile on his face, and quite quickly kind of ducks out of the door and scurries off down the road.
Interesting person.
Yeah, he's. I think he's been here a while. I'm not sure whether to be pleased or concerned that he's taken an interest in the Crown.
I felt the same way. What's happening with that? Do you know? Have you heard anything from your discussions? Has the name Dorak been whispered in corners of establishments you've been in?
Not to me. The last I've really spoken about it was to Dirac, and he seemed surprised that he'd gone to see the mayor. Perhaps, I don't know. Does seem like this Crown needs to be tracked down one way or another, but just who knows who the correct person to find it is. Seems dangerous to almost anyone.
It seems dangerous to spread fear without knowing too much about what's going on. We don't want to ask too many questions and cause too much alarm.
Very true.
Perhaps, if we're not getting...
Maybe Derek will have some news when we speak to him. He must have taken some kind of interest in it after what we told him.
Quite possibly.
You better pay us as well.
And you know what? Speaking of that, let's shuffle Sam and Mike off stage and give me Chris. You're on mute, mate.
No, I'm not.
So, for your part, and this is happening kind of roughly approximate with the scene I've just described. Let's say you're kind of getting yourself up for the day. You had like a late watch last night, and there's kind of a brief banging on the door of your... I'm assuming you own a small shack or something, kind of a hovel of some description.
Yeah, in my head, it's more of a kind of awful shared shift work dormitory sort of place.
Sure. Absolutely. There's a banging on the door of it, and a booming voice says, "God, let me in, you fucking shite."
Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay, I'll let Draak in then.
Dirac strides through the door, says, "Right, come on, let's sort this out." He drags a table over and a chair kind of in front of your bed and sits down on them and says, "Okay, a couple of things. But first, I know you've been waiting for it, but these things take time." He reaches into a kind of a money pouch, takes out and says, "Now, you're not going to be pleased with this.
Never am, boss.
But You've only got yourself to blame. All right? These 2
Okay.
shillings, they're for
Yeah.
the priest. These 2 shillings for the changeling. And this 1 shilling, 5 ortegs, that's for you. And 1 shilling and 5 ortegs for the blacksmith's daughter. Agency.
Money's money.
We had to tell them. You're employed. You're signed by them. That's that. You better get used to it now.
Oh. Why do I always end up with less money? Feckin' can't. So, did we ever find out what happened to the other missing?
Well, I thought you'd ask about that. Now, there's this fucker called Len. He was one of them. Treasure hunter. Handy with a rope, grappling hook, get into places. You know the type. Now, he was the only one we still had even slight tabs on. Now, you heard of the Flayer? Give me a cunning roll. You keep your ear to the ground, right? And you're in the guard. Give me a cunning roll at +4.
15. Let's see. Oh, critical.
Nice. Okay, you are not only aware of the Flayer, as someone who's been killing people around Thistlehold has been dubbed this last week, but let's say, in point of fact, that you were the first guard on the scene at one of the murders.
Jesus. You think he might be the abomination of Len?
No, he was one of the bodies.
Shit.
Yes.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Too old
There's
for
been-
detective work.
It's not. Look, no one's come through me for it. I think there's 4 so far. And you were at the site, right? You know the
Yeah, Jesus.
skin off
Grim.
grim.
Work.
Well, anyway, the Flayer did for the last one of them that we can find. This Gorak and his changeling, no sign of them. If you ask me, they're in the wind. And good riddance to them.
I suspect the ones you lost track of have all found elf arrows, and that's if we're lucky.
Yeah, well, it seems to be fucking going around lately, doesn't it?
Yeah, look.
All
right. What do you want me to do about it then? You wouldn't come telling me this stuff unless you've some plan up your sleeve.
It's above my pay grade. There's a couple of people looking into it, but you know what it's like in Thistlehold. We already had those other killings last week. The ones in the alley by the salon.
Busy town, messy town.
That's right. But if you did want to have a poke around, a little bit of a nosy,
Go on.
well, you find something, maybe something finds its way to your pocket. That's all.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, can't imagine there'll be much of it, but it's better than nothing. Before, what I remember, there's a goblin I'm interested in. I want to put a notice up to see if he checks into town.
The one you work with.
I wouldn't say work with. Shuglud was his name.
Right. And he's part of these Varaguldru, right?
Yeah. I owe him a drink at least.
I'll put it on the board.
Fair. I'll keep you quietly appraised of anything I dig up. I'll go and wave it under Askarai's nose. That guy likes a bit of a... That guy strikes me as a mystery type.
Yeah. These filthy half-elves often are.
Oh.
Stretches and stands up from the table. Right. Let me know if you get anything.
Will do, boss.
He strides out. Everyone's striding today. Lots of striding. Striding all over the place. If anyone's noticed me looking around confusingly, there's weird thumps and clatters and stuff coming from around my room. And there's usually a reason for that. But right now, the reason is curled up there. So, I don't know, wraiths of some kind. So, shall we, in keeping with the rest of these intros, let's get Chris kicked off stream and let's bring Elle on.
Hello.
Hey, Elle. Hello. Okay. Now, contradict me if you say if you think this is nothing Ephonea would do. But I reckon Ephonea might be up for a bit of extra security work to bring in the cash monies.
Yes.
Well, the very large and well-to-do establishment known as the Salons of Symbaroum, which is it's basically a combination of exotic goods store, inn, and brothel, according to which floor you are on it. It's in Toad Square, which is the northernmost square in Symbaroum, and also by far the roughest area of the town. In fact, if John could pop up a picture of Toad Square, which I know he has. Maybe it's coming. There it is. So Toad Square, which looks like that at the moment, because as it happens tonight, it is starting the first snow of the season. Well, the first natural snow of the season. You had an unnatural snow a couple of sessions ago. Toad Square is dominated, as you can see, by a kind of blackened skeleton of a toad-like creature that was dug up when Thistlehold was founded. It's something a lot of kind of tales around the town are attached to. And one of the things that people tend to focus on is that when it was dug up, it had a bell around its neck. So who knows what strange purpose that creature served when it was alive. But the Sounds of Symbaroum face out onto the square, and essentially down an alleyway by the side of the salons. About a week and a half ago, there were a couple of extremely unpleasant, by all account, murders. And since then, the salons have basically bought extra security from the agency, because the two people who died, one was a girl who worked there and one was a regular clientele. So they're not taking any risks. So essentially, they've been paying you via the agency for the last couple of nights to provide a little extra security inside, and also just kind of constantly walk around the outside and make sure things are generally safe. Is there anything in particular you would have taken this opportunity to do? Are you just kind of going through the motions? A job is a job.
Yeah, as you say, a job's a job. While I like making coin, I don't like putting myself in danger unnecessarily. So I almost welcome the relative boredom of just patrolling.
Sure.
So Steo knows about this, doesn't he?
He'll know. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Would he have? I'm assuming this is to do with what Dirac was discussing with.
Dirac, you'll let's say if Steo is known about the flare, he'll have mentioned it. I mean, people are talking about the flare all over the town. The murders here are actually the other murders that Dirac mentioned. There was a couple of people were killed in the back alley here. So
cool. Well, I'll just be doing just standard patrols, just asking around if anyone's seen anything. I'm going to be a useless beat cop.
Sure.
Basically.
Yeah. Well, there's no mall cops in Symbaroum. You're a salon cop.
I'm a salon cop.
Salon cop.
Yeah.
So as you're kind of doing the rounds and kind of nothing's happening, you can hear people reveling inside and lots of other people walking through the square, most of them looking miserable and cold. You hear a call out from the doorway of the salon. Hoi, Barbarian girl, give us a hand with this one.
I'll react to it, turn around, see. I kind of. No, I'm not really one for ascertaining what's going on first, so I will just wheel around to where the voice is and help out with whatever's happening, I guess.
Sure. The one of the regular bouncers that you've been dealing with, not a particularly pleasant individual, but very few of them are. A big kind of bearded man is kind of slightly struggling with another kind of relatively large but much more sort of regular looking guy in fairly moderately affluent but not excessively so clothes, who he's kind of hauling out of the salon, who's kind of waving around in a drunken fashion. He basically pushes the guy over, kind of over to you and says, "Escort him away. He's not to come back tonight."
So this is what I am now, a glorified escort. Great. I'll just kind of grumble to myself while taking him to. Is he staying? Like, I'll ask him if he lives in Thistlehold.
He nods and says, I could make my way there." From your experience in doing this, it's a good idea to get them at least a certain distance away from the place.
I was going to say, not in this state, mate. Jesus, fine. Well, not Jesus, obviously. Mate, who knows? I'm a barbarian. Maybe I do worship this new Jesus.
Jesus fella. As you're like hauling, I take you like kind of hauling the guy away from the side.
Like kind of like one arm like around the waist.
Sure, yeah. He's not really fighting back. As you haul him past the alleyway, where you've been patrolling a fair bit, now that it's gotten darker and like there's more snowfall, you kind of can't see down the end of the alleyway, where there are still sort of splashes of brownish crimson on the walls. But as you do, he kind of grinds to a halt and stares down it and says, I can't forget it. I saw it.
So what? You in one of your drunken stupors, I'm guessing.
I'd had a few. The man it killed was huge, but the beast was bigger. I thought it was a bear at first, but it sounded like, I don't know, like it had been human once. But it can't be one of them. They only live in Davokar, right? Far from here. They can't get us here.
Wait, what? What? Are you referring to the murders that took place here? You saw them happen? Has anyone taken any? Have you spoken to anyone else about this?
The guard came to talk to me.
Did they believe you?
They said I was drunk.
Oh. God's above.
But you believe me, don't you? You believe me? He's not being forceful, but he's kind of got his hands on, presumably you're wearing like more a winter version of your usual, and he's kind of holding on. As he does that, there is a clinking noise down the alleyway, and he kind of jerks around and goes, "Oh!" and dashes off, so that running as fast as his feet can take him through the snowy square.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am going to draw my sword.
Okay.
I'm going to draw my sword, which I'll have not been using per se, because things I'm assuming have been slightly quieter in Thistlehold the past. But kind of, it's like an ego thing.
Yeah, sure. It's your trophy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my trophy. So I've been carrying it around. So, I've kind of like unsheathed it a bit, and I'm, going to call out. Who goes there?
There's kind of the wind is howling quite loud, so you can't there's a noise from down the alleyway, but you can't be sure of exactly what the response was. You might have to. There was definitely a noise, but you're going to have to get closer if you want to.
Yeah, I'm going to cautiously make my way, because obviously I'm assuming visibility is quite low.
It's pretty low, yeah. The snow is really coming down now.
Make my way forward like a foot at a time, sort of thing, and just kind of every kind of couple of feet, I'm gonna repeat, like who goes there? Like, show yourself.
You you can see the start of the alleyway for sure by the light, because it's getting quite dark now, and there are torches bracketed on the side of the salon, but not down the alleyway, so it is quite dark. So I take it you're not trying to kind of be stealthy at all or anything like that. You kind
no, like they know that. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I believe what this man was saying, but I think it's probably just another drunk.
Sure.
So like I'm going in cautiously, but not stealthily.
Sure. You as you move forward, you see as you come kind of nearish to the end of the alleyway, you can see in the shadows deep in there is a figure of some sort. And they kind of start moving towards you.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of unsheath.
Slowly.
Yeah, I'm gonna unsheath my sword more and just kind of shout out, like, halt, not another step. I'm armed. Make yourself known, friend or foe.
Sure. The figure kind of emerges out into the light from the darkness. It is a man of average height, slightly thin, with a hood kind of around his head, kind of bundling himself up. He's wearing those little clip glasses that I mentioned earlier, and in Elle, it is Master Vernum. Not that you know who that is particularly, but it is the guy from the scene earlier. He kind of peers forward and says, "Oh, hello, young lady. I'm sorry. Can I help you?"
So I'll, he doesn't look like he's a threat, so I'm gonna sheath my sword. Yeah, gonna sheath my sword again, and just let out the breath that I wasn't quite aware I was holding, and just gods, don't just loiter in alleys like that. You know that there have been murders here. Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to alarm anyone. I mean, in a sense, they're why I'm here. I don't suppose you witnessed them or investigated them in any way. Do you work for the salon? He's kind of bundling himself up further against the cold.
No, I was fortunate enough not to witness it. However, and though I am not investigating the murders per se, I had an interesting interaction with, I'll be honest, a drunkard just now, but he says he witnessed it. Up until a few weeks ago, I would not have believed the man when he said that he saw a beast. But having seen what I've seen these past few weeks, I'm inclined to believe him.
He leans a bit closer to you and kind of peers you and says, "In the last few weeks, am I addressing the barbarian Ephanea?"
Yes. How do you know my name, sir?
How fortuitous. I have been investigating these events. Young lady, I have already spoken to your compatriots, the Changeling and the Theurg.
Yes, Antom and Ascarai, yes, they are friends of mine. They were present when it happened.
Indeed. Have you any information that they may not be privy to about the crown?
I only know what they know, I'm afraid. To my knowledge, they've probably told you as such. The brothers, Ludo and I've forgotten the other name.
Bellin. His name was Bellin.
Well, it's a little consequence. They're not of this world now.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
Well, young lady, if you do think of anything else, and he kind of bundles himself even further in. It's not a thick cloak he's wearing. If you do think of anything else or find anything else about this crown, please do come to my academy to the south of the city. It will be most useful. I would be most happy to have any information you might discover.
Would you pay coin for such information, as I don't deal in platitudes?
If it provided a worthwhile lead, certainly.
In which case I shall keep my ear to the ground, good sir.
I thank you. He kind of nods a quick bow to you and kind of scurries out of the alleyway and off into the square. Okay. Can we have everyone back, please? How exciting. Everyone back for the first time.
Party's back together. The gang's all here.
The fancy adventurers are back in town. Yeah. Now, again, I don't want to speak too much for the group, but would it be fair to say that after the events of the day, perhaps a gathering at the Witch and Familiar towards the end of the day might be something that would be handy for exchanging information and generally doing things as a group and things? Yes.
Well, I feel like me, Steel, and
Steel has to pass on the pay anyway, right?
Hmm?
Steel has to pass on the pay anyway, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like we tend to go drinking regularly anyway. So yeah.
Sure.
And I live there.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
As does Ascarai. So let's just cut straight to the Witch and Familiar. You're all there, sat around a particular part. As I say, the innkeeper is still grateful enough at this point that you're getting free drink and meals while you're there. So you're all kind of tucking into some kind of roast with fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
All right, well, I'll start, or as I assume, since I've been in contact with a poorly clothed, for the season gentleman, who mentions he has spoken to you already, Ascarai, Steel. What information did you get from him? He merely wanted to know about the crown from me. I told him what I already knew.
He asked us some questions. He seemed to know about as much as as we did, or maybe he knew more but didn't let on much more. He seems very interested in what we know.
I don't trust it, if I'm being honest. He does not strike me as particularly dangerous, but then nor did that witch that we came into contact with in Jackard's Heart, and look what happened there.
That's true. It's hard to trust anyone looking for the crown, really. But he might have information that could help us find it if we wanted to. I'm not really sure what we could do about it.
You know why I would to find it.
I've got some motivation for you then, if you're interested in a bit of an old hunt. Dirac's offering a bit of money for any information coming forward.
Well, I'm in.
I can't look. On that subject, here is the bounteous pay we got for assisting at the Jackard's Heart. Like 2 weeks ago. God, they're so slow.
Admittedly, those that pay will have definitely just been for Bellin and Ludo. No one asked you to do Jackard's Heart, so you ain't getting paid for it.
Yeah. Not that Steo will be not that Steo will revise any decent vein of cynicism to being less cynical about a thing. So I'll pass around the money as I received it, which I think was 2 silver for Ascarai and Anton, and 1 silver 50 shillings.
1 shilling and 5 ortegs for
1
the
shilling.
people. signed on to that. And obviously, Askarai just managed to escape that reduction this time round. Going forwards.
Well, this nearly covers the cost of half the arrows I've lost on that trip.
Do you know what gets me, Effie? You know why they're getting more than us? It's the feckin' Adventurers Guild took the rest of it. Mother's Maison. That's her cut.
I mean, you know what? I'm sure glad that we're part of the, the guild at times like these.
You
I
get
may
more
just
money.
loot corpses more often.
Just gonna say, you literally get more money picking it off corpses. God, what a state! So,
I guess the twist on that is that you definitely find more corpses if you work for the agency.
so who's this guy then? Asking questions.
Thurnham.
And
do you know?
Thurnham.
Order Magica.
Given that Askarai knew about Master Vernum's academy, I'd say that Steo definitely does, and Ephanea does if she makes a cunning roll. Let's say
I shall make a cunning roll.
Let's say you wouldn't have connected the dots in the moment, but yeah, his academy is quite notorious throughout Thistlehold.
And my cunning is
former
roll.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, is it just a flat cunning roll?
Just a flat cunning roll, yeah.
All right, cool. Cunning is 7. Nope, I did not make it.
That's fair.
Yeah. Former Ordo Magico, though, isn't he? And what's with you flipping green children giving away information for free around here? Did you even verify who he was and why he was asking?
Well, he seems normal. I don't think anyone would tend to be Vernon. But I just thought he can help us get close to the crown. It's worth helping him.
Who wants to get closer to that thing, though?
Well, two very different types of people with two very different motivations.
So, Effie, you were saying he was snooping around the scene of the murders last week by the salons, yeah?
Yeah, I just ran into him when I was doing my my rounds. However, that also I almost forgot because I was interrupted by this Vermilion. I can't remember, whatever that guy. The reason I was there in the first place was I was escorting a drunkard home because apparently that is how much my pay is worth now. But he said something very interesting, and I said this to the gentleman in the alley, and I'll say it again. I would not have believed it if we hadn't experienced what we had done these past few weeks. But this drunkard claims that he saw the murders, and he claims that it was a huge gentleman of some proportion, but not as big as, in his words, the beast. He says it was like, if I recall, it was like I can't remember. It was like a bear, but not. But then that made me think, obviously, of our shape-shifting elf friends. It could be the ramblings of a drunkard, but it could equally...
Well, it could equally be a shapeshifter, which means there's two of them. Also means that it's probably an elf pulling the strings for some reason. So...
I should point. Sorry, if it. Although this is a fine tack to go on. His exact words were: at first he thought it was a bear.
Okay.
But then it made a noise and it sounded human, or like it had been human.
Thank you. Yes, out of character, I had half forgotten the conversation. So yeah, we'll kind of wreck on that. I said that.
So if there's something like that floating around in the town, what's keeping it hidden? And if it's killing indiscriminately, why does it stop?
Questions that I wish I had the answer to. However, I just get paid to patrol the salons and escort pissards home. So... that's all. Pissards. Anyway, that's a word now.
Your particular pissard from last night. Don't suppose you could track him down twice.
He said it wasn't allowed back in that particular salon. I don't know whether the bouncer just meant for that evening or for all time.
He did say tonight.
Yeah. We could check there again.
Can I leave that with you?
Aye, no
Because
problem.
remember, we want to know if it's got that bone crown. If it's got that bone crown, then it's bad news for everyone. If it's oh, go on.
What about Vernon? What about we watch him? We see what he does. We see what he's interested in. We see who he meets.
Yeah.
Would it be difficult to follow him, to watch him?
He's fairly well renowned. Like, that academy is not. It's not Ordo Magica, but it's still a place where business gets done. You're the scholarly sort there, Anton. Could you not maybe try and get some information from him this time, as opposed to giving all the information we might have been able to sell to him?
Hey, I waited for him to tell me something before I told him something. But yeah, I can see if I can arrange a casual meeting with the man. Find out a bit more.
It sounded like he knew something, but didn't want to tell us yet.
These Ordo Magica, even the ones who aren't Ordo Magica anymore, they're great at keeping secrets or looking like they're keeping secrets. They either know nothing or too much.
He definitely knew something he wasn't saying just yet. Maybe.
I'm going to have to... Lads, I can't emphasize enough. I am not paid detective money, but I'm going to go and have to see if I can figure out if there's any link between the people who've been killed and the locations where they've been killed in. I have to do some digging.
This crown is, as much as we want naught to do with it, seems to be following us around.
Well, here's the thing. Oh, hold up, lads. Pause just a second while I get his name. Who's my boss? He is called... Dirac. Dirac was talking to me. He was talking to us at the Jacob's Heart, actually. And he said of all the people who touched that crown, almost all of them have disappeared. And just last week, Len was flayed by the titular Flayer, who might be this monster. So
we can safely assume that all three of you will have... The Flayer is kind of the talk of Thistlehold at the moment.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'd like to say that, things as bad as the Flayer don't usually happen in Thistlehold. But...
they kind of do.
How long have we been hearing about the Flayer for?
About a week.
Okay, so an amount of time that nicely lines up with a potential abomination from this crown. It seems like these are definitely connected. My question is, what did Gorak go and see the mayor about? And how is that just kind of a...
Anything that goes into that compound, the only way you're going to find out about it is if someone wants you to find out about it. God knows what that guy's on, but he hasn't left that place now in, 2 years.
That to me is the biggest worry.
Isn't there a witch in there with him?
I heard it was a goblin, but who knows?
Oh, Jesus, all rumor. That's the problem. You don't go into that place.
Yeah.
It's nearly as bad as the feckin' forest. Right. What are you going to do in all this, Askrai? Are we going to get you to tail the wizard, or help me do detective work? Actually, I could use your help. You've got a better brain than me. Do some detective work with me.
I don't know about that. I think my brain must be turning to mush. I'm about to be a fully fledged member of your guild.
Oh, he's finally talked you into it.
Wait, now then.
Yeah.
Now you too can have money cut out of your salary.
Yeah, it was either that or get blacklisted. Felt like I was going to lose half my pay either way.
Fair enough. You either leave the shithole or you stay here and work to their rules.
Yeah, I might leave yet, but I'll give it a bit of time and see how things go.
So, as this discussion is kind of winding down, Anton, you notice out of the corner of your eye that Keller has come into the Witch and Familiar and he's kind of looking around.
Okay. Well, I presume that he's looking for me. So yeah, I'll...
As he sees you, he kind of goes.
Okay. I'll get up and excuse myself from the group and go and speak to him.
I'm not sure I've described him. He's a kind of a man of early middle years with slightly straggly, long greying hair. He kind of has a look of like he was once quite handsome, but now it's kind of becoming almost like a kind of slightly unpleasant sneer. He says, Antom, and kind of puts one arm around your back and steers you away, kind of outside, away from kind of earshot of everyone. It's quite cold outside. The snowstorm is still blowing. He leans into you and says, "So, I'm not a man who is unaware of things, Antom, and I am aware that so far the church here has not made much good use of your talents. I think that's fair to say."
Well, I've been forging my own journey so far in Thistleholes, getting the lie of the land,
and doing excellently from it, as far as I've heard. Now, I have managed to wangle for you a little task from the church. Yes, something to get you in the good graces. How does that sound?
What's the task?
Well, now, you have been made familiar with the witch hunter Baumello, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, after he went off on that little trip with you and your friends, he moved on to a village called Glimmervan, somewhat nearby. It's about a day's ride away. He doesn't seem to have returned from it since, but he has sent some of his troops here, and they've been causing a little bit of trouble. So what we'd like you to do is head over to Glimmervan, have a talk with good old Baumello. See, obviously, you can, while you're doing that, you can see if he wants to get involved a bit more deeply with the church, like we originally wanted him to. You remember, you were asked to do that, but that doesn't seem to have happened so far. But perhaps you can have a word with him and see why his heavies are causing a bit of trouble on the streets.
Trouble on the streets seems to be a pretty normal state of affairs around here, from what I can gather so far.
Quite so, but the church would rather not have witch hunters involved with that kind of thing.
Is this a job for the church, or is it a job for the town guards?
Well,
not that I'm shirking my responsibilities. If that's what must be done, I will do it.
The town guards will deal with his troops if they need to. I think we just need to know what he's up to. Yes, what his game is. If he has a plan, if there is any motivation behind this, anything we could even help him with, if it was, of good character.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anton. Prios bless you. He gestures in the worst gesture of blessing you've ever seen in your life, and kind of bundles himself up under his. I don't know. It almost looks like he's wearing multiple clothes, and makes his way off swiftly through the night. It's about sort of around 8 or 9 o'clock. Kind of, it is dark. It's just the night is not yet completely over.
Okay. Well, I'll return inside to the warmth of the inn. I may have some responsibilities that I need to take care of, which may mean that I can't assist in our in our duties here. I must go and find Balmello in Glenmavan and find out what he's up to and some of the difficulties that his men are causing.
Perhaps you can ask him about this crown. Maybe he's.
I will. I'm curious to know more about this and anything that he might know about it. But it looks like I must head along back down that road that we travelled towards Glimmervan.
Well, you'll be sorely missed, Anton.
I will try to get back here in a few days' time, and I'm sure I will catch up with you then.
Hopefully we won't have been flayed in that time, but, me and old Swordy here, she's not original with nicknames, I'll take on any troubles, I'm sure. We'll keep it safe for your return. Make sure the place is still standing.
Yeah, I will remain here for now. I'll set off in the morning, first thing.
Okay.
If you use a witch hunter.
So, is anything happening in the evening? As I say, it's around 8 or 9 o'clock now. But you could still the city is still alive at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Or are we kind of or are we like doing stuff in the morning?
I imagine that. If we were wanting to question our drunk more from last night, we could make our way to the salon that I was at.
Oh, that was tonight.
Oh, that was tonight.
Yeah, this is directly after your security detail.
Sorry, yeah, just for the morning then, yeah.
Probably morning.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that in mind, let's say that are you setting off immediately in the morning for Glimmervan, Mike, or are you kind of letting it go through the day? It is about a day's travel, so.
How would people get to Glimmervan? Especially people like myself who don't have a horse? Or
I mean, you can hire a horse. Or you would walk. The roads are relatively safe. Yeah, it's about a day's walk. And probably about, on a horse, you're looking at a 4-hour, 6-hour ride.
Yeah, I think I'll just walk. I'm probably a pretty frugal man of the cloth.
Well, if you want to get there before nightfall, then you probably leave immediately in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's fair. That's fair. With that in mind, let's kick Mike out. And Mike has headed off to Glimmervan for a side quest, which at least partially exists because Mike will sadly not be with us next week. So, what are the three of you doing in the morning?
So I imagine that I'm just what am I doing in the morning? I mean, I'm assuming the bars are like all day kind of places here. Like,
oh yeah.
I don't know if he Steele seems to have a question once he's off mute.
No, Chris is imaginarily fussing the cat.
Okay. But I will basically then just as soon as I'm awake, kind of round the troops. Because Ascarai is at the Witch and Familiar, isn't he?
Yeah.
Staying?
Yeah.
I go there. I'm going to assume we'd meet there in the morning and then head off. Grab breakfast, grab an ale, and then head off to.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know where you're going or what you're doing.
We're going to the. I believe we're going to the salon that I found the drunkard in.
Okay, the salon. The place is literally called the Salons of Symbaroum. It's just called that.
I'm going to that place to see if we can find where he is. To kind of ask him more questions about what he witnessed on that night.
Sure.
Because he might be able to tell us more about. Because he only gave me a little sliver of information.
Yeah, sure.
I would like to rise uncharacteristically early, perhaps in some kind of feedback from my long convalescence, and go and see if I can pull the information on the victims of the flaying and who they were, get some names
Sure.
and positions.
You might have to do a bit of rummaging and persuading to do that, because as someone who's only kind of partly on the guard, you'll that kind of information wouldn't generally be available to you, but you can certainly maybe try and do a bit of
Happy to make a contacts roll on the matter.
Sure. But before that, so are you all heading as a group towards the salons?
Or is Steele's thing happening before? When you say uncharacteristically early, like, are you?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to arrive with a little bit of information, just because obviously the salons is, while it is a 24-hour establishment, there's a good chance that it's going to be very quiet in the morning, and your man might not yet be on the sauce.
Well, I mean, if similarly, the people you want to talk to about that will be on the night shift.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
Fair.
like, you don't really know the man, but you know that there is a guy in the city guard with the exciting title of the corpse examiner, called Elantro, who is the medicus of the town watch, and he definitely works nights. So,
okay,
he'd be the guy to talk to.
That's my job this evening, then.
Sure. So, as I said, can we safely assume that you're all heading towards the salons?
Yep.
To have a look around. Okay. Yeah, you're heading there from the Witch and Familiar. And can you all make a quick roll for me, please? This isn't something. This isn't. You're not about to be attacked by an abomination. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just basically trying to randomly determine what something happens, and I'm trying to randomly determine who it happens to.
Okie dokie. Yes.
I got a 19.
You got a 19. Sam?
I made it. I rolled a 5.
Okay. Then the youngish girl, maybe 18 or so, who's running down the street, accidentally runs headlong into Steo. And kind of
bollocks!
crashes back onto the ground in front of you. Kind of shakes her head to clear it. There's a bit of like some kind of like commotion going on further back behind her. She gets up and kind of grabs onto Steo's sleeve and says, please don't let the witch hunter take me.
Witch hunter? At this time in the morning? Where would he take you? What's going on?
You can see kind of a group of relatively well-armed men with a kind of ogre towering over them at the back with a crest of long ragged hair. They're all wearing black cloaks and have kind of dark armor. In fact, John has a picture of said ogre if he wants to flash it up for us.
Ooh. Maybe. Fantastic. Oh, not fantastic.
No.
They're kind of moving towards you and starting to form a kind of semicircle in front of the group of you, and the ogre bellows over the crowd, "Give us a girl!" Behind you, in the crowd, you can hear a couple of people starting to whisper, "There she is. Is that the Flair?" And someone else says, "She looks so normal, but corruption hides where one least expects it." The girl turns to you and says, "I've done nothing wrong."
Does she look normal?
Absolutely normal in every single way.
Okay.
She says, "Please, my name is Tenid. I know a little witchcraft, but I don't have any truck with dark powers. My neighbor, he just wants my hen house. He's the one who called them in on me."
Oh my God. It's far too early for this.
Stand protectively in front of her and put my hand to my. I'm not going to draw my sword, but my hand is going to be like.
Okay.
Okay, so
the kind of the kind of henchman in front of the ogres kind of stood behind them, and the henchmen start kind of like hefting axes in their hands, and the ogre kind of looks round and says, "In the name of Balmello, the girl comes with us."
in a low voice to the girl, I'll say, look, we're not going to be able to stop all these lads, but if you give me a wee soft kick in the shins there, I'll let you make a run for it.
She kind of looks at you and says, "But they'll catch me."
And where to stop them exactly how?
The ogre says, "Right, I've had enough. You give us the girl or we draw down on you."
There's your ultimatum. You run on your own, or we all die fighting these thugs.
I mean, there are 4 thugs. So
one of them's an ogre, though.
True.
We've worked with Balmello. He is not with you. He is not even here.
Everyone knows we do his word.
He's not even in the town. How could he know anything about this girl?
I've got news for you. He is in the town.
All right, well, show him to us then. We wish to speak to it with him. He knows who we are.
The ogre appears to consider this for the moment and says, "Boys," and the 4 thugs come at you with their axes. And I think we can safely leave it there for the week. So there we go. Lovely stuff. Thank you very much. Bring Mike back on. Why not? So yeah, that's our stuff for the week. We'll do our usual kind of decompression after the story. If anyone in chat has any comments or questions or anything like that, post them in there, and John will flag them up for us to talk about here. In terms of what we have to talk about before that, yeah, like I say, Mike's unfortunately not with us next week, but the other 3 will be, and we'll be cracking on with the events that are happening in Thistlehold while Anton is carrying out his investigation. Elle is just going to hop off because she needs to hop off and take care of the cat. So
True. She's being very
farewell, Elle.
Farewell.
So yeah, whack your comments and questions in the chat. We'll have a quick discussion and see what we think about the critical thing. If anyone has any comments about that in chat, feel free to let us know. And the only other thing I want to there's 2 things I want to plug in addition to that. One is that we have our second series starting on Monday at 8 o'clock. We'll be playing Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Looking forward to it a whole lot. Our chronicle is called London Ascendant, and there'll be a teaser video dropping for it on YouTube tomorrow. So that'll be good. Get hyped for that, and we hope you will join us. The second thing as well is that we launched our Patreon over the last week. There is a link in the about and links kind of section of Twitch. But generally, if you just look for Patreon Telling Tales, you'll probably find us. We've got some good things on offer there. We've got your usual kind of like Discord server, behind the scenes stuff. We filmed some recordings of our character creation for Vampire the Masquerade. That'll be a lot of fun for people to watch, and even more treats there. And hey, just support us, because we'd love to do this on a more full-time basis. Yeah, and that's my promo stuff, really. So shall we let's have a quick discussion of the critical damage thing. People have had a couple of hours for it to sit with them now. Any kind of changes of opinion, any notions about that? Anything from John, from people in chat, anything like that? What do we think? Or is it something we want to ponder on longer?
I'm erring on the side of doing it. I know I kind of my not wanting to do it is kind of wanting a more brutal death mechanic, but not necessarily wanting that to be facilitated via a gazillion more dice rolls.
Sure.
But I still think it's a nice bit of extra flavor.
I mean, there are other things we can do to make a more brutal death mechanic that are within the modules there that we might talk about at some point soon. But Chris sounds like he's for it. Mike, Sam?
I'm more than happy to go along with what the consensus is here. So, and my opinion is coming from the fact that I've probably got one of the weaker characters in the team, like in terms of toughness,
in terms of physical.
Yeah. So, but that being said, like there's elements of this that kind of like would go in my favor, I guess, as well if I roll a critical when I'm attacking someone. So yeah, like I'm definitely. I'm not against it. I'm just prepared to say goodbye to my character a little bit sooner.
The horrors of it, yeah.
But, that's going to happen eventually anyway.
Absolutely. Sam, any thoughts?
Well, I'm kind of jumping ahead a bit, but am I right in saying that one of the more brutal death things is also to do with like pain threshold? It's like if you take more damage.
Yes, it is. It's if your toughness reaches 0 via a hit that also takes you over your pain threshold. So if your pain threshold is 7, basically if a hit that takes you to 0 is a hit of 7 or more.
Okay.
Your fucking head comes off or something. Like you're done.
Yeah.
You're done there.
I kind of feel like I would be happy with either of them.
Mike has to dash as well, so bye to Mike. But carry on, Sam.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, I kind of feel like I'd be happy with either of them, but not both, because it feels like it's kind of too much stacked on to having a bad pain threshold is like really gonna screw you over.
Yeah.
Doubly so. But so it's kind of a weird one because we haven't really got to that other thing yet. But I probably wouldn't want both of them in, but I'd be happy with either one of them in.
I mean, we can juggle when the other one comes up. We can say, well, if we're going to have this, we'd rather not have that, and so on and so forth. So, okay, well, it sounds like a broad consensus. From Steve, what ends the critical hit condition and active healing? Correct. Any kind of heal takes you out of that state, that critical damage state.
It would make having the like healing, what is it called? The herbal cures more valuable because you can then just kind of
just eliminate that problem. Yeah. Steve also asked what your pain threshold is.
Oh, it's a personal question.
I think mine is 4. Yeah, mine is 4.
They can be pretty bad. There's another thing, by the way, that that'll be something we'll offer to patrons, is like character sheets and stuff like that of the existing characters. Okay, well that sounds like a broad consensus, so we'll run with that from next week. I don't think there was any extra things from chat, and yeah, we'll roll with that. That sounds good. Is there anything else from chat, John? I don't think there is this week, unless there's something that John has been holding in reserve for us. If there's nothing, then that's fine.
Where is Balmello?
Perhaps people could club together, pool their resources, and send Anton to medic school.
Oh, dear God.
More shade for Anton. Poor Mike. That's why he's taking next week off. It's just shame. It's just shame. A sense of shame and worthlessness. You watch that that mystical power he has that just does the big AoE blonk on undead and abominations. I'm willing to bet once some progression is made, he will be the team's primary DPS.
When we're 100 sessions in, we're going to look back at these first sessions and just laugh when Anton's carrying us through every fight.
Someone else apparently asked what happened to the bottle with the Water of Dusk in it. I'm not going to say, but we have not forgotten it.
I certainly didn't forget it. I was going to...
It has not been forgotten, and what has happened to it is sorted, but patience.
Yeah. Steel certainly hasn't forgotten. And,
I bet he hasn't.
The fact that it hasn't been brought up recently has not left a good impression on.
Sure.
And Anton's going to come back with 500th thaler in his pocket.
Yeah.
All the cloaks he can eat. So we'll wrap it up there for the week, unless there's any more comments or anything like that. Yeah, like I say, we've got a second series starting on Monday. Please join us for that if it sounds interesting at all. 8 o'clock on Monday, or 8 o'clock British sometime. Not these players, but this GM.
I'll be in chat.
Chris will be in chat.
John will be there.
John will be playing. Bring yourself on, John. Say hi and bye. Here we go. John is going to be a vampire for you on the internet. So that'll be good. Steve, who's a regular in the comments, will be our stream manager for that. Please join us for it and tell everyone about it and everything like that, because we'd love to have a big crowd there for the launch of our second series. Again, the Patreon's there if anyone wants any more on that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks, John. Thanks to Sam, to Chris, to Elle, to Mike, and what the hell to me as well. And we'll see you next week for more Symbaroum. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.